Welcome to Co-Opinions. My name is Josh, and today we have Brent on.
Yep.
So Brent saw the teaser trailer for Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
And he was so excited by it, he said, Josh, we have to talk about it. I go, I don't think there's enough there for a full episode, man. And he goes, there's definitely enough for a minisode. Okay, so give me the rundown on what you can do. Well, let's talk about the first one, then how the second one's going to improve on it, all the things that the first one had that it kind of failed to deliver on, all the things we saw from the trailer that looked amazing. Am I hitting all the general points here, Brent?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Without much further ado, Brent, talking about the first game, a handful of years ago, DICE announced that they were going to be bringing back Battlefront. Now, this was a big deal for you because you loved Battlefront.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people, the original Battlefront is one of my favorite Star Wars games, and there was supposed to be a Battlefront 3, it never happened, people were always disappointed, You know, stuff always leaks out online that shows you what it could have been, and people get pissed off some more. Then DICE announced, DICE, who people were like, if someone's going to make a Battlefront game, it should be them. When EA got the rights to make Star Wars games from Disney, they said, we're going to make a Battlefront game. People were like, oh, this is going to be great. Then they showed the first trailer, and that was all right. It was only stuff from the original trilogy, and generally the original two Battlefronts were from what was at the time the two trilogies. So when they're like, it's only the original trilogy, that was a bit of a letdown to me. So I guess let's hit the high notes.
Yeah, so first let's talk about the things you really liked about that new Battlefront game, because I know a lot of people were turned off by certain things, so let's focus on the good first.
There were good things for it. So, for starters, I did really enjoy the gameplay.
Now, you play a lot more competitive shooters than I do online.
A little bit more competitive. I do enjoy online gaming. For first-person shooters, a little bit. I mean, I didn't used to. The environment used to be really toxic. Now I don't have to listen to it.
Why do you not have to listen to it?
I can, mute my TV.
Okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the gameplay to it. It wasn't, I mean, the original Battlefront was third person. This was first person, so it was a bit of a stretch to get it to jive a little bit at first. I liked gameplay modes like the Imperial Walker mode. Basically, if you're the rebels, it's designed for you to lose. I mean, not that I didn't play versions where people didn't win, and it happens, but, I mean, it's designed ultimately for you to lose.
Because the
Empire, they're coming at you with Imperial Walkers, and any of the environments, you are completely outgunned. I mean, you have to. There are like 4 checkpoints you have to get to. Each point they have to be hit by Y-wings, and that allows you to hit them, take down their health. There's 2 of them. You only have so much time. I mean, if you're on a good team, people generally are, straightforward with what they're doing. You can take it out.
So were those the only high points for Battlefront?
I mean, besides it was the first game in years, but...
Yeah. So let's move on to the more unfortunate low points of Battlefront 1 for you.
It didn't deliver the same experience that I wanted from Battlefront.
Now, what exactly were you hoping for?
So, I mean, the original Battlefront had a lot of things in common with Battlefield games, and going into a Battlefront game, original Battlefront games had classes a lot like the original Battlefield games do. Your engineer, your medic, they had jetpack trooper. I don't think I can really, there's no comparison with Battlefield there.
Well,
normal trooper. Well,
there is the Nazi jetpack trooper, so... Continue.
But, something I was expecting, and they didn't give that to you. You just had troopers on both sides. You had different faces. Like, yeah, there were alien heads for some of the rebel ones, and the Imperial ones had different male and female faces. And my first thought was, I don't care about the faces.
You can't see them.
Well, no, you came with helmet. You were helmetless, which was stupid to me because I don't care what they look like under the Stormtrooper helmet. I want the helmet.
Yeah.
I'm playing for the outfit of an Imperial Stormtrooper, not the, older guy I can have his face of. I don't want that.
You'll get there eventually. God. Anyways.
I mean, that was a huge disappointment. The lack of one of the big things from the original Battlefront was Conquest, where you had a galaxy map, you fought both sides.
Now, Conquest, was that online, offline?
Well, the original one, there wasn't a whole lot of... The original Battlefronts for PlayStation 2, there wasn't really any. Unless you played it on PC, there was no...
Okay.
Online.
So were there any offline modes in the original Battlefront?
You mean new online? Oh, the new one. I mean, they had a few offline things you could do. You could play them offline. It felt like they were all tacked on to appease people. One of the things people were upset about was the lack of space battle and stuff like that. And they ended up adding in fighter things over planets, and you could play those offline. And they were fun, but a lot of the problems with no DLC content was it did get repetitive pretty fast.
Okay. Now, since you mentioned DLC content, are we good to move into one of the most divisive aspects of that first Battlefront?
Yeah. So one of the first things I'll touch on the free one, which was added solely for Episode 7.
Episode 7, okay.
Which was the Jakku one for the Battle of Jakku stuff.
So this was all the DLC that was added. As soon as they announced the game, they announced there would be a season pass, which is an unfortunately common occurrence nowadays.
Yeah. Well, this first one was free. The only difference was if you got it on PlayStation, you got it 2 weeks early compared to anyone on Xbox. Mm-hmm. So Sony had the exclusivity there. It just added the map for Jakku. I didn't really add anything else besides that, okay. I don't think. So that was the free one. The first real Season Pass DLC was the Outer Rim one, which added Jabba's Palaces, some playable maps, some facilities on the Celeste maps that were smaller for more compact, like 12 on 12 maps, not a whole lot of people.
What is a lot of people in this game? I don't know what the scope can be.
30 people on each side.
Okay, that's a decent scope. So.
But these are for more CQB maps. You know, close quarter maps is what I'm talking about here. Anyways, it added 2 new hero characters.
Now, heroes are people who you can play as when?
If you get to the token. Okay. The tokens, that was a weird thing for them to add, but I'll probably get into that when we get to the Battlefield 2.
Battlefront
2. Anyways, for the game when you bought it, the 6 standard were for the Empire, Darth Vader, Palpatine, Boba Fett.
For the Empire, Boba Fett?
Yeah. That's
kind of weird, isn't it?
No. It's
okay. All right.
He's like their go-to bounty hunter.
Okay.
And for the Rebels, you had Luke, Han, and Leia.
Leia?
Yeah.
Why?
So Leia and Palpatine were interesting because they came with what's the word I'm looking for? Royal guards for each side. Mm-hmm. So if you were someone nearby, you were one of the highest people, you could spawn in as one of those people.
Huh.
And they had their own special weapons.
Interesting.
So those were the 6 they came with. Then they added, for the first DLC, Nib Nub, which was Lando Calrissian's co-pilot in Return of the Jedi.
What a weird person to add.
Yeah, people are like, this is the first person you add, and Greedo.
The one who got shot first.
Yeah. People are like, these are your first choices. These are not what everyone else would have gone with, and this is what you choose to give us. So there was a little bit of, what are you guys thinking here?
A little bit of pushback there, yeah.
It did add one new mode. I can't speak to it, which was Extraction, but that was a new mode that this DLC added.
Okay.
So the second DLC is the Bespin DLC. It added 5 Cloud City maps and a mode called Sabotage. I didn't play this one, so I don't know. But it did add Lando Calrissian as a playable character, which makes a lot more sense. And Dengar, who, for non-big Star Wars fans, he's in The Empire Strikes Back. He looks like the guy who's wrapped up like a mummy when Vader is talking to all the bounty hunters.
Oh. Again, why?
Well, people enjoy playing as the bounty hunters, I think, in Star Wars games.
But is Dengar more well known than Greedo or Ninub?
I'd put him on par, maybe. Really? I think it's dependent on the person.
Okay. If you're a nerd or not, continue.
That one. So the next DLC, which is the one that actually Bespin was considered pretty good because people.
Now, I see in here that they included a new mode, Sabotage.
I mentioned Sabotage.
Okay, go ahead then.
But then let's move to from Bespin to the Death Star one. Bespin was generally liked. It added some pretty neat things because people like playing on Cloud City. I know I really enjoyed that in the original Battlefronts, the Cloud City maps. But the Death Star one is the one that added the most important modes that people enjoyed. It brought back the stuff people really wanted. Besides the Death Star maps that you got, it added Battle Station mode. So Battle Station mode was reminiscent of Battlefront 2's space battle thing where you fought in space between 2 fleets and you could fly to the command ships and take down the command ships of the opposite side. Mm-hmm. This is like that, but it's not as good. People were kind of turned off because one of the big problems with the new Battlefront game that the original one had was like a lot like Battlefield, where the ones that came out years ago, you could jump into spacecrafts all on your own. And this one's biggest problem...
This time, did you mean to say Battlefield?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like in the original Battlefield games, you could run up to a helicopter, get inside of it, take off. The problem with DICE's Battlefront was that they didn't do that. You ran around the field, and if you saw the token for the spaceship, That's what you got. And you just suddenly appeared in it.
Weird.
Which is really off. I mean, it's like, guys, you did this with your own games. Why aren't you doing the same thing? This isn't fun this way. So the problem with this is you start out, you have to attack Star Destroyer, you destroy the Star Destroyer, you go on foot into the Death Star, which there's a transition cinema of you landing, and then you do the stuff inside the Death Star, then you take off and do the trench run. But each one, like I read a review about it, which was it feels off-putting because it just feels like 3 chopped up maps instead of one continuously long
that
thing.
doesn't sound like it would be a fluid process.
Yeah. And that's the complaint. It added stuff people wanted because people really wanted space battles, so it was great to have that back, but it didn't add exactly what people wanted. Okay.
Now, do you think that was people being inflexible with their expectations? Or do you think
I would generally say one of the big things people complain that they're just always going to be upset, nothing. But I think to some extent, I feel like DICE could do better.
Okay. And finally, the playable characters.
So finally this one added Chewbacca and Bossk, which...
So I straight up, if anybody knows who Chewbacca is, everybody knows who Chewbacca is. He's the weird bear.
I really did want to say Larry Skywalker.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Bossk is the lizard bounty hunter guy.
Lizard bounty hunter.
Fun fact, his outfit is actually it's a reused Doctor Who prop that they had.
Nice.
Yeah. But... yeah, he's the lizard bounty hunter. Those two are a little bit more well-known. Chewbacca, I mean...
everybody knows Chewbacca. Yeah.
Finally, the fourth and final DLC for it was the Rogue One DLC, which had the Scarif space map, the Scarif land map, new types of stuff for ground, like the Troop Lander, the U-Wing. You could use that in combat. You had 2 new aerial ships above, so like the U-Wing, you could fire out of the side of it down onto the land. That was new.
Right.
And you got the... TIE Striker is what it's called. They're ground-based TIE fighter.
Isn't that just a tank?
No, this is it's from Rogue One. It's only a atmosphere flying ship. It has like wing type.
Got it.
I'd have to show it to you. Yeah, right. But yeah, it's only for ground battles. And it added characters from Rogue One, Jyn Erso and Orson Krennic.
Now, Jyn Erso
is Felicity Jones.
Okay, that's not who I thought it was. Continue. I was thinking it was Moody Vader. I don't remember.
No,
that's Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not watched any Star Wars movies.
Jyn Erso is Mads Mikkelsen's character's daughter.
Okay. I was really excited for a moment, and then you said daughter. I'm like, I don't care now.
Orson Krennic is an interesting one because a lot like Palpatine and Leia, because he has his Death Troopers. You can play as Death Troopers if you're nearby.
Death Troopers?
The big black stormtroopers. Black armored
I'm not cool with so many of the things you just said. I don't like the way you said black. Yep.
It was not meant that way. You've taken it the wrong way.
Think of it. Never mind. Woefully inappropriate. So what did you think of this last DLC?
I mean, again, I didn't get to play a whole lot of all of these, but... I mean, it added a lot of things that I was really interested in, especially the space battles that they added. So,
all right.
So I guess now it's time to move on to Battlefront 2.
Before we do that, I want to say, what was your overall opinion of this game?
I enjoyed it. I kind of really wish they hadn't called it Battlefront.
Right.
It felt like it tried too hard to latch on to the nostalgia people have for Battlefront, and because of that, it didn't do well.
Okay. And did you have any thoughts about how they had used the season pass?
$50 season pass is a bit much.
That's another game.
Yeah, which felt like we were getting the game should have been. The DICE people have said off the record, they were generally forced to get it out really quick.
Yeah, and I mean, it was released the same year it was announced, wasn't it? Like
they wanted it out for The Force Awakens, and EA pushed that hard.
Anyways, so disappointment there. You had to pay $110 to get the game you really wanted. So at this last they announced officially
Star Wars Celebration, which is a somewhat annual thing. There won't be one next year.
Okay.
But it is a celebration that has gone on for a long time. Lucasfilms endorses it. They bring a lot of Star Wars stuff there, especially now that Disney has control of everything. They've brought a lot of things, trailers. So EA finally brought games. People thought there were going to be more games, but there was just Battlefront 2. So I was disappointed.
I know you were hoping there would be more.
The trailer leaked out. PlayStation did something, released something, an email, accidentally leaked the TV trailer to it. Yeah. you're like, someone's going to get fired over this one. But it leaked the story part, but they had a bigger trailer for Celebration. Right off the bat, things that this one already brings to the table. The first one didn't. It has a story mode. And I don't need a story mode for a first-person shooter. I just generally want offline play.
I feel like there was a pretty big stink over the lack of a campaign in the first game.
Well, the original Battlefront, PlayStation 2 Battlefront had campaigns, but they weren't story driven. You played battles from the original movies. That was how it went down. So, but I am intrigued. The story seems really interesting of a TIE fighter, of a Special Forces Imperial person who is at the Battle of Endor when the Empire falls, and all her story after that. So I'm intrigued by the story. It'll be the first game released in the new canon. So this story will be a part of the new canon since Disney bought it. So I'm intrigued by that. Then they also said no paid DLCs and no season pass.
So the season pass thing, I know that's what made you contact me. You go, there's no season pass. And I go, and?
I was intrigued. So from the starter, because I'm curious, this game looks like they've basically taken the first one and they're building off of it. So I don't think they're building this game from the ground up. I think they're generally taking the original game and just adding everything that they intend to add to it. So the original game with DLC included, now they're adding everything else onto it.
Got it.
So, I mean, this game will have gameplay from all three trilogies, the prequel, the sequel, the original one, stuff from all of them.
Now, what are they going to do about episode 8 and 9?
9 probably won't have anything.
Right.
The 8 characters will be available first on PlayStation and then Xbox.
Okay.
So, they haven't said who those are. They've just said they'll be there.
Now, if I pre-order, can I get Zombie Leia?
I don't think so. This is not Call of Duty.
Call of Duty or Gears of War 4.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. Zombie
Dom. Spoilers, maybe? Anyways.
But the no paid DLC thing, which is apparently something EA may be instituting a lot more, especially for first-person shooters.
Interesting.
Because I guess they've seen a lot of it. Apparently, they started it with Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2, because they got so much pushback on a lot of other things.
Interesting.
So I'm curious to see how that goes. So there will be DLC, you just won't have to pay for it.
And what are they going to do with the original 2 trilogies? I mean, yeah, sure, Star Wars is 1,000,000 hours long or something, but we've had so many games. Do you worry that the content from the original trilogies will feel like a rehash?
No. I mean, I don't. I don't know if there aren't people that won't. I mean, I enjoyed the gameplay to this first Battlefront. I wish it was better. And if they're reinstituting one thing, they are bringing the class system back to this game.
Did they give you a lot of detail about that?
They listed off, I think, officer, mechanic.
What's an officer?
That I'm curious about. What an officer is. I guess, yeah, there wasn't an officer in the original one. There was just regular like trooper, heavy trooper. That'll be something in this one. So heavy trooper probably is the one with the rocket launcher most of the time, or a bigger gun.
Right. Just can't move as fast usually.
But you pack a bigger punch.
Right.
So I'm curious to see this stuff implemented in the new Battlefront, which is what I wanted in the first place. So I think over all 3 time periods, having that in each time period will be interesting. I don't think it'll feel 100% like a rehash, but I think people wanted a game that felt more like the other ones to begin with. I mean, I did, especially if it's called Battlefront. And I mean, we're at a point where I think the maps will look better generally than, 2005.
The first, okay, you're going back to the original series now.
Yeah.
Okay. I was about to say, the maps will look better, but I mean...
the maps in this first Battlefront look gorgeous, I think.
I only saw a little bit of it because both Star Wars and competitive first-person shooters like this was the double team of stuff I don't care about. But I did watch some people play it, and it seemed really pretty. Now, have they announced any of the heroes for the second one?
I think generally all the heroes that were in the first one will be in this one.
Okay.
From the way I took it. And the only ones they've announced for the other eras are Darth Maul and Yoda for the prequels.
Yoda?
Yeah.
Is it going to be like an odd job situation?
Well, I mean, he was in you just hop around a bunch. You're really fast.
Oh.
And Kylo Ren and Rey for the new trilogy.
Gotcha.
So far.
Okay.
People are thinking an older Luke will be the one that's released with episode 8.
Right. Are they going to have a pre-order bonus of zombie Han Solo?
With a lightsaber hold through his chest.
Exactly. He spins around.
Too soon.
Me talking about Dead Princess Leia wasn't too soon.
I wasn't clicking when you said it.
Okay, I'm about to say, that was legit offensive, that one. And you didn't say nothing.
That was too soon.
Yeah, right. Awesome. You were really on top of that. So, in general, it sounds like you're more excited about Battlefront 2. Now, are you worried this might be hype train? Do you think there is substance?
I am worried, and I won't buy it right off the bat.
Now, is that because you've learned your lesson?
Well, generally when it comes to EA, I expect there to be glitches right off the bat anyways.
Valid. So, okay.
I mean, I feel like that's a valid reason not to jump right in there.
So I know you don't buy that much into the hype about reviews, but how will you be determining whether or not this is something you end up picking up sooner rather than later?
For first-person shooters, I will see some reaction just because if you don't have anyone to play online with, it's almost pointless. Well, this one will have a campaign, which will make it a little bit more viable.
Does it have... I remember you say something about co-op? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I saw local co-op.
That's so weird.
Right?
How often do we see that nowadays?
But I think there's been such a complaint that people can't play together with people that they know. I've seen a lot of complaining that people miss that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big reasons that we keep playing Gears games.
Yeah.
That last one wasn't bad. We need to talk about those.
It's also a big reason why we play a lot of Nintendo stuff.
But you can listen to our Zelda series if you want to hear me rant about that. Anyways, getting entirely off topic here. What else did you want to talk about in regards to Battlefront 2?
I think we've covered a lot. I mean, we didn't get a ton of information. They just showed stills of, certain backdrops for each trilogy that there's going to be. And then it is places from the original ones, but I'm intrigued to see every game sets up the places differently, and this one had a lot more close quarter combat one that the original Battlefronts didn't have because that wasn't a thing.
Right.
So I want to see what they do.
Cautious optimism is what I'm hearing. Okay. Well, in that case, anything else in general?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay, just sounds like you got as high of hopes as your negativity will allow.
Yes.
Okay. Well, in that case, Brent, thank you very much for giving us the content for this minisode. I think that you front-loaded a lot of useful information, and I'm really curious to hear how other people thought of the first new Battlefront and what their thoughts are going into this second one. So, first off, thank you for coming on.
Yep.
Second, please go online, and if you have thoughts about why Battlefront 1 was garbage or why Battlefront 2 will be great, let us hear them. Jump on Facebook. We're on the Twitters. But until next time, I'm Josh, and this is Co-Opinions.